Hello and welcome everybody to our first live GCSE Foundation paper. Thank you for joining in today's session, and we are going to be going through the May 2017 paper. So welcome. Assalamu alaikum, kia ora. Welcome, and we will see if we can do this weekly. And a few comments just before we start. First of all, just to kind of go through the format. In maths, we learn through our mistakes. So one of the things I say to people is make mistakes quickly. This is one thing that we don't like doing, but it's really important that we do that, making mistakes quickly, because this is a way in maths that we learn. We learn through mistakes. So it's something you don't want to do, but in maths, by making mistakes, we learn. So do it very, very quickly. The second thing is trying harder questions. In maths, our grades go up by doing hard questions. So by doing hard questions is one of the ways to kind of improve your grade. A few things in terms of, we're going to be doing this for 30 to 45 minutes. That's how long our session will be today. And we'll kind of be looking at questions and flicking through them just to see how many marks we can get. So I classify them as easy, medium, hard. Easy questions we'll do straight away. Medium questions we'll come back to. And obviously hard questions we'll leave for the end. So we'll see if we can get through as much of this as possible. And the purpose for that will be just so that we can see how many marks we get. So this is June 2017. And it's paper 1. So let's get started. And we'll keep this tally as we go through the paper. So question 1, what is question 1 telling us? Question 1 is saying, work out the value of 2 to the power 4. So 2 to the power 4 is worth 1 mark. So let me just write something just to make it clear. So when we have a power, that means we are multiplying the same number 4 times. So we've got the same number 4 times. So 2 to the power 4 means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And so that becomes 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16. So that gives us 16. Right, let's go to the next question. Question 2, write 7.26451 correct to 3 decimal places. I'll give you a few seconds to answer that question. So we've got 7.26451, and it's asking us to 3 decimal places. So we've got decimal place number 1, decimal place number 2, number 3. So we look at the next one as our decider. If it's 5 or more, we round up. So this we will be rounding up. So our answer becomes 7.264 becomes 5. So my final answer is 7.265. Let's look at the next question. Simplify 7 times E times F times 8. I'll give you a few seconds to do that. So here we've put the numbers together. So we've got 7 times 8. And then we put the letters together, times E times F. So 7 times 8 is 56. And in algebra, we put the letters next to each other. So we've got 76 EF. Question 3b is we want to solve x divided by 5 equals to 2.5. So I'll give you a few seconds to do that one as well. So here we've got x divided by 5 equals to 2.5. So we can look at this in a few ways. Let me just zoom in. So what I have is something divided by 5 equals to 2.5. So this, you can see it as a decimal as well. You can say it's 2.5. But what is confusing here is we've got a mixed number. So the mixed number may put us off. So let's think about this. I'm just going to remind you of something you've done in primary by giving you a simple example. So let's say I'm thinking of a number and I divide it by 2 and I get 5. So if I think about it, I'm thinking of a number divided by 2 gives me 5. So I can go through it in order, 1, 2, 3, until I get to 5. So if I did that, I would get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 divided by 2 is 4, 9. So this would be 10 divided by 2 gives me 5. So if I didn't know it was 10, how would I work that out? I'm dividing, so if I'm going backwards from 5, I'm multiplying by 2. So it would become 5 times 2 gives me 10. So what I'm doing is I'm doing the opposites. The opposite of divided by 2 is multiplied by 2. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. So I'm going to be taking my denominator and I'm going to be multiplying it by 5, multiplying it by 5. So x equals to 2.5 times 5. So I've got 2 times 5, and I've got a half times 5. So here what I can do is 2 times 5 gives me 10. Now the half is the confusing part. So I can do 5 lots of halves. So I've got a half and a half makes 1. Another half and a half makes 2. And then I've got half left. So that's 2.5. So I've got 10 plus 2.5. That gives me 12.5. And so that is my final answer. Let's go to the next question. Question 4, write 4 over 5 as a percentage. I'll give you a few seconds to do that before I do that question. Okay, so let's look at this. So we've got 4 over 5 as a percentage. So what does percentage mean? Percentage means out of 100. So that's what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to make my denominator become out of 100. So if I look at this carefully, what number multiplied by 5 gives me 100? And then I'll do the same thing on the top side. So what number, 5 times what number makes it 100? So if I look at it carefully, 5 times 2 gives me 10. But then I've got another 0, so I can add a 0, so it's 20. 5 times 20 gives me 100. So I do the same thing over here. 4 times 20, so 4 times 2 is 8. And then I've got the 0, so 80 out of 100. So that is 80%. So that's my answer, 80%. Okay, if there's something you're not sure about, write it in the comments. I'll have a look, and then I will explain that again if that's not clear. Let's go to the next question. Question 5. Question 5 is worth 2 marks, so it's worth a little bit more. So I'll give you a few seconds to answer that as well. Okay, let's go. So we've got 60% of 70. So 60% means it's 60 out of 100. Of usually means multiply 70. So we've got 60 over 100 times by 70. So now, if we look at this carefully, when we are multiplying, the order doesn't matter. It's kind of the same. So I can just extend this. So this is, I can do 60 times 70, or I can do, I can divide them. Now, if I look carefully, I've got a 0 here and a 0 there. So I've got 2 zeros and I've got 2 zeros here at the bottom. So in a way, what I'm doing is I'm dividing by 10. If I divide this by 10, this by 10, that cancels out. I've got another 10 here and another 10 here, so that cancels out. So what I'm left with is 6 times 7. So here, this simplifies to 6 times 7. 6 times 7 is 42. So what has happened is it's something that looks really complicated has become very, very simple. So that's worth 2 marks. Let's have a look at the next question. Okay, I'll give you a few seconds to try that question. So here, question 6. Sammy spins a fair four-sided spinner. Got A, B, B, and C. On the probability scale, mark with a cross the probability that the spinner will land on a B. So I've got a spinner here, and it's 4 things. That's what this is telling me. And I have to use this probability scale, mark it there, and I'm looking for a probability that the spinner will land on a B. So probability. Now, probability usually has a numerator and a denominator. It can be like a fraction, or it can be a decimal or a percentage. So in this case, let's see what happens. Look at this spinner. So I've got A happening here once. So A equals once. I've got B happening twice. So B equals to 2. And I've got C happening once. So you can see I've got 1 plus 2 plus 3 gives me 4 possible values. So I've got 4 here, so my denominator is going to be 4. So on the probability scale, mark with the cross the probability that the spinner will land on a B. How many B's do I have? I've got 2 B's, so B goes to the top. So I've got 2 out of 4, so that can simplify to a half. I just divide by 2 both sides. So I get that. So I'm looking for half, and I can see from my probability scale that half is here, so I'm going to mark it with a cross. Okay, let's go to the next question. It says, On the probability scale, mark with a cross the probability that the spinner will land on F. So I'll give you a few seconds to try that one before I give you the answer. Okay, so on the probability scale, mark with a cross the probability that the spinner will land on an F. Now, if I look at this, there is no F. So if there's no F, that means it's impossible. In other words, it's 0. So I'm going to mark it there. So that is a nice, simple answer to that question. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, I'll give you a few seconds to try that one. And this one is worth 3 marks. So this one is worth 3 marks. Okay, so this one, it says, Fahima buys 2 packets of bread rolls costing £1.50 for each packet, 1 bottle of ketchup costing £1.60, 3 packets of sausages. Fahima pays with a £10 note. She gets 30p change. Fahima works out that 1 packet of sausages costs £2.30. Is Fahima right? You must show how you get your answer. So there's a lot of information taking place here, and this is clearly a problem-solving question. And so one of the things